Hey, I'm some nobody, and I'm gonna be frank nobody with you real quick. This video is going to be considerably low effort because I just want to get one more video out before Infinite Wealth drops and I disappear off the face of the earth. So I thought I'd touch on a bit of a hot button issue at the moment. There's a game coming out soon called Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and a lot of people have a lot of problems with it, including me. I briefly touched on my problems with it in my video on the feels-like genre. I'll touch on those issues again real quick, but with the added benefit of having played the online beta test that they had out a few weeks ago. First things first, the most important thing you can say about any video game, it is really fun. It reminds me a lot of Sunset Overdrive because it's a game all about, keeping your mobility up and keeping your combo going. At its core, a good, fun, well-designed video game. My problems with Suicide Squad are the same problems that I feel like a lot of people have with it, and that's just conceptual problems. That we do not like the idea of playing as the Suicide Squad, first things first, and we do not like the idea of killing the Justice League. And for me personally, I don't know about y'all, I don't like superhero game where the main gameplay mechanic is shooting guns. The other thing that everybody has a problem with is that it is a live service looter-shooter style game a la Destiny 2 or He Who Shall Not Be Named, but I'm gonna name him later. Actually, forget later, I'm just gonna name him right now. Marvel's Avengers. And guys, I actually have a little confession to make. I was a day one Marvel's Avengers player. Now, I'm not gonna be one of the thousands of people who are going to talk trash about this game. After all, there's no use pissing on a grave because the person's already dead. Not to mention there's 6 feet of dirt and a hard oak casket in between your piss and the corpse, so all I have to say is that the consistent failures and eventual death of Marvel's Avengers is what really has people side-eyeing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, on top of all the conceptual issues people have with it. But folks, I actually have a reason for this video today. Avengers and Suicide Squad already have a lot in common, but today I'm going to tell you the one big difference that makes all the difference. It is because of this one difference that I think Suicide Squad actually stands a chance of being a long-running live service game. That difference is their publishers. You see, the reason that 99% of live service games fail is because a publisher will see the kind of money that Destiny 2 rakes in, and they will tell their studios, hey, make Destiny 2, and then when it's not instantly profitable, they give up on it within a year. What they fail to realize is that when Destiny first released, it was complete and utter dog shit. There are two main reasons why Destiny eventually became a success. Number one, it was a passion project. Bungie believed in it and they had a vision of what they wanted Destiny to be. Number two, Activision looked at dog shit Destiny 1 and said, hold on, let them cook. And there is not a single doubt in my mind that if it wasn't Bungie, if it was like some small studio that was really over ambitious that put out Destiny, we wouldn't be talking about Destiny right now. But Bungie created Halo, so Bungie had so much clout in the gaming world that Activision was willing to keep publishing Destiny right up until the point it became so successful, Bungie could kick Activision to the curb. So a live service game needs passion and it needs a good publisher. I'm gonna say right off the bat, considering that both Crystal Dynamics and Rocksteady are primarily single-player studios with very little experience in multiplayer, I doubt they suddenly wanted to make this big, grand, ambitious live service game. And specifically in the case of Suicide Squad, we know for a fact that Warner Brothers has wanted this game to be made for the last 10 years, alright? It used to be a WB Montreal game that was cancelled. I'm not saying the dev teams at Crystal Dynamics and Rocksteady don't care about Marvel's Avengers and Suicide Squad respectively. I'm just saying it wasn't their idea. It wasn't their vision that they wanted to chase. So I'll say with relative confidence that neither of these games are particularly anybody's passion project. And so it all comes down to the second factor, the publisher. And once again, this is the big difference between Marvel's Avengers and Suicide Squad. Marvel's Avengers was published by Square Enix. And if you are a gamer, Square Enix has fucked you over at some point. Square Enix is widely regarded as one of the worst publishers in the gaming industry. If your name isn't Tetsuya Nomura, your game is not getting marketed if it's published by Square Enix. If your game isn't called Final Fantasy XIV and it's a multiplayer game, you are not getting funding post-launch if you're published by Square Enix. So one day, Square Enix goes to Crystal Dynamics, this relatively small studio responsible for the modern Tomb Raider games, and says, hey, here's a massive IP, the biggest IP in the world at the time. Make Destiny 2 out of it. And Crystal Dynamics, bless their hearts, they made a fun game. Anybody who played Avengers will tell you the gameplay was fun. They did a great job making you feel like the character you're playing as while still fitting them into this template that they could release more characters into. But then you get to the meat and potatoes of a live service looter shooter, the post-game. Awful. Terrible. For almost a full year after launch, there was nothing to do post-game except kill Abomination and Taskmaster once a day. And I really don't blame Crystal Dynamics for this because once again, they are a primarily single-player studio. They don't know how to make Destiny 2. This would be the time where the publisher would have to come in and say, hey guys, we're going to buckle up, we're going to get you guys the resources you need, we are going to turn this franchise around. Nah, Square Enix said we're sending half the team over to Microsoft to help with Perfect Dark. We're taking half of what's left after that and having them going to work on other things. But even still, after a full year of fixing all the bugs that came about from the game being released during COVID, and another full year of rehauling all the systems that just don't work because the original team just didn't know how to make a multiplayer game, Avengers was finally kinda sorta starting to find its footing so that it could turn it around and become a success. So Square Enix promptly sold Crystal Dynamics to Embracer, who promptly shut the game down, and now you can't even buy the game anymore. But you know what, man? Give Avengers some credit. They lasted a lot longer than Babylon's Fall, another live service game published by Square Enix and developed by Platinum Games that lasted only a little bit more than a year. You'll scratch that, I just looked it up to be sure. The game lasted 6 months. Let Avengers and Babylon's Fall be a lesson to you. If Square Enix ever comes to your office asking you to develop a live service multiplayer game, detonate the bomb vest. Also, if you're a game developer, you should always be wearing a bomb vest. That's the first thing they teach you in game design class. Now, on the other hand, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is developed by Rocksteady Games, yes, that Rocksteady, the Batman one, and published by Warner Brothers. Now, there's already some good signs here, being that Rocksteady is one of the top studios underneath Warner Brothers. No disrespect to Crystal Dynamics and the Tomb Raider games, but the Arkham series is to Warner Brothers games as Final Fantasy VII is to Square Enix. It's always good to be your boss's favorite. But I would also say that WB Games is a generally good publisher. You gotta think, Arkham Knight released in 2014 and it is now 2024. Now, I'm not saying that Suicide Squad has been in development for 10 years, I don't know, maybe it has, maybe it hasn't, but it was announced in 2020 and they got another 4 years of development time. Hell, it was supposed to come out in 2023, but immediately after they showed the gameplay trailer, they gave them another delay. Multiverses was a game published by Warner Brothers that came out, it was on fire for a little bit, and then it sort of started to die down and people really stopped playing it. But instead of shutting down the game and telling the studio to pack their bags, Warner Brothers said, alright guys, that was just the beta, technically. I mean, the game was pretty much out and you could spend money on it, but that was just the beta. Go back into development, release in 2024. Not to mention that let's assume that Suicide Squad didn't start development until it was announced in 2020. That means they still watched the entirety of Avengers' lifespan while developing the game. That means WB knows you can't just coast on IP. You need to give the people something. Otherwise, your game's gonna die. It doesn't matter how popular the characters are. Now, if Suicide Squad dies 15 minutes after launch, I'm gonna look real stupid in this video, but I honestly don't think it will. Shit, if nothing else, I imagine WB will make sure the game's a success just to spite Disney. Now, the point of this video isn't to advertise Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The point of this video is to talk directly to people who were burned by Avengers and are interested in this new game but don't want to get hurt again. And hey, maybe all of this is just cope on my end because Avengers put me through plenty of grief, but I think Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to be at least a little different. But you know what? If I convince you to buy the game and I turn out to be wrong and Suicide Squad is just as bad or even worse than Avengers, you can't get mad at me because I'm just some nobody on the internet. What are you doing listening to me?